I just made this entire anime scene using nothing but AI, and the whole process took me less than 20 minutes. I've tested a lot of anime creation workflows, and this one genuinely stands out. You get great character consistency with smooth animation and perfect audio. It's the closest thing I've seen to actual anime coming out of an AI tool. So by the end of this video, you'll know the exact workflow behind it, including the story, the characters, the animated clips, and how it all came together in the final edit. The main tool we're using today is called OpenArt, but there's one specific thing that makes this entire workflow possible, and it's worth understanding before we start generating anything. The model we'll use to create our anime is Seedance 2.0, and what makes it stand out is that it understands multi-shot generation, meaning you can describe multiple shots in sequence and it will actually execute all of them in order. For anime specifically, that matters a lot, because they heavily rely on shot variety. It also keeps your characters and location visually consistent across every clip you generate, and it produces audio alongside the video so you're not sourcing sound separately. Everything comes out in one output. Now every anime starts with a story, and before we generate a single image or clip, we need to know what we're actually making. This is the step most people skip, and it's also the reason most AI anime content looks disconnected and random. When you have a clear story with specific characters, a defined setting, and actual dialogue, every generation after that becomes more intentional and more consistent. For this, I'm using Claude to write the scene. You can use any AI writing tool you're comfortable with, but Claude tends to give really clean, structured output for this kind of creative brief. The way I approach this is that I give it the full picture. I'll paste in my prompt, and I want you to pay attention to how specific it is, because the more detail you put into your story up front, the better everything else will turn out. The story I want to create is about two elite boxers in the final round of a championship fight. Both of them are completely destroyed, neither one is willing to go down, and the whole arena is on its feet watching it happen. I will use a classic sports anime style. What we get back is a clean output with two characters, one location, and a complete story arc from the opening bell to the final knockout. And one thing worth mentioning is that the Japanese dialogue in this workflow comes out really accurately. So if you want to create anime content in other languages, this process handles that too. Now that we have our story, the next thing we need is to create our characters. And for a lot of people, great characters can carry the entire anime. When you first log into OpenArt, you're going to see the main dashboard with lots of different options. You'll see story, video, image, character, world, and audio. Each of these have its own dedicated workflow, and together they give you everything you need to produce a complete animated project inside one platform without ever leaving it. So if you want to follow along and create your own anime with me, I've left a link to OpenArt in the description below. For what we're doing today, we're going to be moving between image and video. But before we can generate any video, we need our visual assets, our two characters and our arena location. These are the reference images that Seedance 2.0 will use to keep everything consistent across all three of our clips. So let's build them. Click on Image in the navigation. This takes you into the image generation workflow. Once you're in there, you'll see a model selector at the top. Click on it and switch to Nano Banana 2. This is the model we're using for all three of our image generations, because out of everything I tested, it just handles the anime aesthetic the best. The ink outlines come out clean, the shadows are strong, and the character detail stays intact when you bring it into Seedance later. Let's create our first character, Takeshi. Set your aspect ratio to 9:16 and your resolution to 2K. One thing I want to point out before we generate anything is that the prompts we're using here are very detailed on purpose. Things like the exact color of the gloves, the type of bruising, where the sweat is sitting on the face, and the specific fighting stance. All of that detail in the image prompt is what gives Seedance enough visual information to keep the character recognizable across multiple clips. If your character prompt is vague, the reference image will be vague, and that inconsistency will show up in every video you generate from it. So take your time with this part. I'll paste in this prompt and generate. What comes back is a clean character image that looks like a screenshot from an actual anime. The ink outlines are clean, the cell shading has that classic anime contrast, and the detail on the gloves and the bruising actually came out really well. There's even text on his belt that's accurate. Now let's make our second character, Ryuji. I'll paste in my prompt, and then you'll need to switch your aspect ratio to 16:9 for this one, and keep the resolution at 2K. Ryuji is the champion that Takeshi challenges, so we need him to look bigger and more powerful. And now hit generate. The contrast between him and Takeshi is exactly what I was going for. Where Takeshi is lean and sharp, Ryuji looks intimidating and powerful. His confident grin, the scar, and all the bruises are elements that make him look like the final boss character in a sports anime. The blue and gold color scheme against Takeshi's red is going to look really striking when they're in the same frame. Finally, we need our location, and this is more important than you think because in an actual anime where everything is animated, every single detail, including the background, is consistent. So even if you have your characters, if your location shifts or it's random, people will notice. I'll paste in this prompt. Keep the 16:9 ratio and 2K resolution. Let's generate the arena where everything will take place. This is our arena. What I love is that it has red and blue elements, representing our characters' colors, which is a really clever way to pay attention to detail. We also have the crowd cheering, which will look really good later on when we animate it. So now we have all three assets: Takeshi, Ryuji, and the arena. And what we're about to do with them using Seedance 2.0 is something that AI has struggled for a long time to create. Head back to the main dashboard and click on Video. Once you're inside the video generation workflow, you'll see the model selector. Click on it and choose Seedance 2.0. Then select Text with Reference as your generation mode. We're using this mode specifically because we already have great reference images, and this is how we tell Seedance exactly who our characters are and what our arena looks like before it generates anything. To upload your references, click Upload Media, then Image, and load in all three: Takeshi, Ryuji, and the arena. Once they're in, you'll be able to tag them directly inside your prompts. That's how it keeps everything consistent across shots. Set your duration to 15 seconds, resolution to 720p, aspect ratio 16:9, and make sure audio is on. We're generating 3 separate clips, one for each beat of our story. Now, before I paste in the first prompt, I want to quickly explain how I structured these prompts because it's not just a description of what I want to see. Each prompt is broken down shot by shot. So I'll write shot 1, describe exactly what happens in that shot, then shot 2, and so on. This is what tells Seedance to actually move through a sequence rather than staying on one angle. If you just describe a scene without breaking it into shots, you'll get a single camera angle for the full 15 seconds. The shot-by-shot structure is what unlocks the multi-shot generation. Let's start with our opening clip. I'll paste in this prompt. The bell rings, both fighters are already destroyed from 11 rounds, and they come out swinging for everything they have left. And now hit generate.
てめえいつまで経ってんねんだ。始まったばっかだろうがよ。
The video that comes back actually went through multiple shots in one generation. That's the multi-shot thing I was talking about earlier, and this is exactly what it looks like in practice. You've got a medium shot of both fighters in the ring, then it cuts to them exchanging punches, then a close-up on Ryuji taking the hit, all from just one prompt. Look, it's not perfect. You can see a couple of moments where the movement gets a little stiff, and that's just the nature of where the technology is right now. But the characters are consistent. The punches land with impact. It goes from slow motion on the sweat spray to fast back and forth exchanges. And the dialogue is coming out of the right characters. The crowd noise, the gloves hitting, all of that audio was generated alongside the clip. For one prompt, that's genuinely impressive. Let's move on to our second clip. This is the escalation. Both fighters are completely spent, but neither one is going down. Let's generate. That uppercut connecting and the sweat frozen in the air in slow motion looks genuinely cinematic. The lip sync isn't perfect and you'll notice that pretty quickly, but honestly that's a small thing when you look at everything else that's working. The way it slows down on the big impact and then picks back up into the fast exchanges, the taiko drums building underneath it, the crowd getting louder as the moment escalates. It all feels like it belongs in an actual sports anime. Now let's create our final clip, which is the moment everything has been building toward. I'll paste in my prompt and generate. This clip wraps the whole story up perfectly with that moment of silence right before the crowd explodes, the slow motion collapse, and Takeshi dropping to his knees in victory. Keep in mind that for an image to be ready, you need to go to Upload Media and check the eligibility for each one. And that also goes for images that you're going to upload. Anime content can be harder to get verified even when you're not copying anything, so some of your images might not pass on the first try. Just keep regenerating until Seedance accepts them. It usually doesn't take too many attempts, but just be patient with it. And look, not every clip is going to come out flawless. There will be moments where something looks a little stiff or slightly off. But here's the thing, no other model is doing what Seedance 2.0 is doing at this level. The clip length, the character consistency, the background staying the same across shots, the audio, and the fact that it handles Japanese dialogue and other languages this accurately. Nothing else comes close to the full package that this model puts out. So keep generating until you have 3 eligible clips you're happy with, and then we'll put it all together. Now we take everything we've generated and bring it into a video editor to assemble the final piece. I'm using CapCut for this, but use whatever editor you're comfortable with. Once you're in CapCut, import your 3 videos and then drag each clip onto the timeline in order. Export the video and then you're done. Now let's look at our final result.
てめえいつまで経ってんだ。始まったばっかだろうがよ。やれ。始まったばっかだろうがよ。血を抑え込むしかない。
What you just built, from a blank page to a complete anime fight sequence, took a story prompt, 3 image generations, 3 video clips, and a quick assembly in an editor. And with this workflow, you can create anime-style videos in a way that no other output can match. And with OpenArt, you get full access to Seedance 2.0 and every other top generation model all inside one platform. No multiple subscriptions needed. If you want to start making your own anime today, click the link in the description and sign up to OpenArt. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.